I've had quite a year. Quite a year on YouTube. I went from 25 subscribers on this channel to 19,700. Now, I don't know how familiar you guys are with numbers, but that is a lot. That's big numbers. And it's very hard to put into perspective. So maybe a little retrospective would be nice. I'm gonna watch my first ship breakdown, the Halberd-Class. This here is the beginnings of my channel. None of this stuff matters. All of this was 2022, and I just kind of threw this shit up because I was like, I can make something about Halo. But it all started actually here. This was the first this was the first breakdown I ever did. It's got 98,000 views. Over the course of like a month, it went from 0 to like 60K. It was blowing my mind because on Mark the Crawler, which I had been focused on for the past year, 2022, nowhere near like those numbers. I had like a couple shorts that did a couple thousand, but it was jarring. Of course, this video is not without its flaws because it was my first ever breakdown. So we're just gonna watch it and talk about it, okay? So we're gonna look at this dumbass's first ever Halo ship breakdown, right? And we're gonna judge him very harshly because he doesn't know what he's doing.
UNSC destroyers
combine
God.
Okay,
heavy
first off, the audio quality is shit.
armament with high speed and
You're too
thick
close
armor.
to the mic.
These small warships use Wolfpack tactics to engage Covenant vessels with
He's
coordinated
but also, just reading straight out of Halo Warfleet without a citation, that's plagiarism, bastard.
gunfire and hit-and-run tactics, overwhelming their targets' defenses, which were often superior. To say I've never done a video like this before, it was a lot more research than I'm used to, so I'd appreciate a like after the video if you like it, and I guess a dislike if you don't, that's fine too.
That's
The
actually
UNSC
true. I had never done a video like this before. I have never, at this point, I had never done a video that I had to do any amount of research for, so I didn't really know what I was doing. I just was like, the Halberd looks cool. What's the Halopedia page say about that? And then I didn't like read any of the books or the comics or anything. I just kind of went with what it said on there.
The same manufacturer is responsible for the majority of UNSC warships, such as the Halberd-Class, the Paris.
I'm recording this gameplay, but I didn't turn on cinematic mode, so there's still logos showing, and my cursor is in frame right there.
Class, the Autumn Class, and the Marathon Class, to name a few.
Oh, dude, people were so mad that I said Autumn Class here. That is the Autumn Class heavy cruiser. But people didn't know that was a thing. So they were just like, you mean a Halcyon class? I will defend this guy.
To the UNSC
Autumn
fold
class.
in 2508, and was the most commonly used UNSC destroyer throughout the Insurrection and Human Covenant War.
That is true.
The Halberd-Class destroyer
It
served
looks so bad.
just under 1,600 feet, but weighs in at 1.8 million metric tons, making it one of the shortest but most densely built UNSC
My cursor's
ships
still
in the
on screen.
entire fleet. While the bridge of the Halberd-Class still sits at an elevated position to maximize visibility, as UNSC Navy guidelines demand, the bridge has
UNSC Navy production guidelines. I don't know if that's a thing, or if I read that off of like Fan and Wiki or something, and I didn't know the difference when I wrote this.
a much more subtle position in silhouette when compared to other UNSC ships. Namely, frigates like the Paris.
To my credit, I
class,
credited
where
the
the
artist
bridge
on
juts out.
DeviantArt that did this. I don't know. I did ask another artist for permission, and they gave it.
To the top.
I know
due
he's
to the ship's
shipyards.
overall blocky, modular
I'm sorry for
looking
that.
design. The bridge of the Halberd-Class, on the other hand, would be
Look how fucking low res the background is.
harder to immediately pick out, due in part to the ship's arrowhead design, coupled with the massive titanium A armor plates that cover
that's
the
fair enough,
entire
yeah.
MAC cannon and inhabited portions, as
This is
well
a
as
fair
two
point.
outward flared plates protecting the engines on its abaft flanks. On the keel of the Halberd-Class, you'll find the hangar, featuring a specialized set of gravity generators that decelerate oncoming small craft and accelerate them at launch. Traditional electromagnetic hooks and arrestor cables are still fitted for emergencies.
Okay.
Within the hangar, each halberd carries
Still, again, just reading straight out of Halo Warfleet, I think.
a maximum of 2 Pelican dropships, so you can imagine how small of a hangar this is. Halberd-class destroyers are
Fair enough.
propelled by 4 primary and 4 secondary high-thrust fusion.
It was still a good idea to use Sins of the Prophets to showcase the ship. I should have... The frame rate is in the corner. The frame rate.
drive.
You miss the old frigates? I'm a fan of the new and old frigates.
Powered by massive reactors,
I
the
like
rear
the- I
thrusters
like 'em both.
generate both power and forward propulsion, using deuterium and helium-3 fuel mixed with hydrogen or water reaction mass. The superheated exhaust is then redirected with
from
thrust
Halsey's
vectoring
journal.
plates and magnetic fields to increase the destroyer's maneuverability. The ship's armament included 4 Rampart point defense
The
guns,
music
26
change, it's not great.
M58 Archer missiles, and 1 14 B11 R2 Mac battery, with 2 spinal-mounted twin-linked launch rails. The primary launch rail, a 1,170mm high-velocity coil gun,
This is all
is fit
just
for all
accurate.
standard
Yeah,
Mac munition packages, such as hyperdense kinetic kill
I tweaked all the
slugs
lines
and
a little bit, but, you know,
semi-autonomous drone missiles.
Still just reading the details
secondary
on the
rail,
page.
a 647mm coil gun, was built for kinetic rounds only.
Right.
The Mac battery is not powered by the fusion engines in the rear as is the rest of the ship, but by spare capacitor cells stored underneath the armor plates
External
on the
power
midship's
source, yeah.
port and starboard. Fast, and requiring only a small...
The Strident is the only good new frigate. I mean, if you think that, that's fine. This is all a matter of opinion, my friend. I think the Mulsanne is very cool. It's more of a heavy corvette, in my opinion, than a frigate, but it's cool. Hey, Mark, I can't believe it's been a year since the Halberd video. Keep up the good work, and I hope... thank you. Thank you, Reaper. Thank you very much.
crew. What
I
the
hope I keep being
Halberd-Class
successful,
destroyer
too.
lacks in general-purpose utility, it makes up for in firepower.
That's true enough.
The most notable ships of this class are the UNSC Pioneer, the UNSC Heart of Midlothian, and the UNSC Iroquois. The Pioneer was the staging ship of
Iroquois.
Operation Talon.
Iroquois is how you pronounce that word. Have I played Star Wars Empire at War? I have. Yes, I've played it. I've played modded versions with my friend K Bingus, who you might know as the lead mod on my Discord server. I say lead mod. She doesn't really do anything. You know, it's just kind of... She just kind of hangs around and fucks with people sometimes, but I find that funny.
The first operation ever
Yes, I
undertaken
have.
by Spartan 2s. The strike team consisted of Samuel 034, Linda 058, Kelly 087, Frederick 104, and John 117.
Could have just said blue
Forming,
team.
for the first
right?
time, the legendary... The UNSC Heart of Midlothian, aside from having one of the most badass ship names in all of sci-fi...
That is a
was
great
the
name.
first
What do you think of the ship classes in Sins of the Prophets that are non-canon? Do you think they did a good job with making them realistic and well-fitting in Halo like the Artemis? Every ship design that the Sins of the Prophets has made is good. Is good. All of them are great. The Resolute class is great. The Resolute class and their non-canon like Mako design. Very cool.
ship attacked in the Human Covenant War, where the reason behind the attack was simply the ship's navigational data, which would lead the Covenant to other human colonies, including Earth. The ship self-destructed after the attack's sole
pretty good.
survivor, ODST Michael Baird,
Good description.
allowed the enemy to kill him, giving the shipboard AI, Mo Ye, the authorization to destroy the ship, along with the boarding party and navigational data.
It's pretty good succinct description of that.
And finally, the UNSC Iroquois was commissioned in April 2552,
it's so low res.
the final year of the war, and was the first ship to respond to a Covenant fleet en route to Sigma Octantis 4 just 3 months
here
later
it
on July
comes.
17th. Fit with 3
Here comes my very poor description of the Keys loop.
Shiva-class nuclear
brace
warheads
yourself.
and captained by the one and only Captain Jacob Keyes.
Captain Jacob Keyes.
It, as a lone, small ship, engaged a Covenant carrier, destroyer, and 2 frigates, and destroyed the entire fleet with the exception of its lead carrier, which disengaged and retreated. During the engagement, the Iroquois sidesteps 2 plasma torpedoes,
Don't listen to
physically
this.
grazes a Covenant destroyer, damaging its shields,
That's
finishes
not-
off the destroyer after allowing the trailing plasma torpedoes
That's
from the
not how it
frigate to hit
happened.
it, taking down the rest of its shields, and hitting it with a Shiva nuke. It then slingshot around Sigma Octantis 4 and handily took down the 2 Covenant frigates with its Mac cannon and Archer missiles.
That's not
This
how it
tactic is now
happened.
referred to as the Keys Loop, and it deserves its own entire video.
Sure it does, but here, so I talked about this again. I talked about the Keys loop again in the remade version of that in Destroyers of the UNSC, which I still gotta remake because they came out with a new destroyer since I made it. Give it a moment here.
UNSC destroyers
Okay, the production quality jump is insane. Here, this description of the Keys loop is correct.
During the engagement, the Iroquois sidesteps 2 plasma torpedoes.
That's how it
and
happened.
physically grazes a Covenant destroyer, damaging
Uh-huh.
herself and shredding her bottom armor and decks.
Yep.
The trailing plasma torpedoes ended up being a blessing for the Iroquois, colliding into the destroyer rather than her, The
Yeah.
blast took the shields offline, leaving an opening for the Archer missiles of the Iroquois to finish her off.
Yeah.
But before the collision, Keyes made sure to leave a present behind for the 2 remaining ships, a Shiva nuke that trailed behind the torpedoes. It detonated near the frigates, disabling them with an EMP and slightly damaging the Iroquois itself. It then slingshot around Sigma Octantis 4 and
Just like
finished
that.
off the crippled vessels with its Mac and remaining missiles. Following the engagement, the Iroquois was so badly damaged that
Ugh. Look at the effect on this. Like, I know it's a screen cap of the show, right? But just, like,
crippled vessels with its Mac and remaining missiles.
look at you can see the artifacting on the fire effect that they put on this ship. It looks so bad.
The engagement, the Iroquois was so badly damaged that it needed a near total overhaul. The nuke's EMP damaged 15% of the electronics beyond repair, 8 magnetic coils in the Mac needed to be replaced, temporarily disabling the gun, one of the emergency thrusters needed to be refilled, and the engine's vents had fused together due to extreme heat and would need a complete overhaul to get them fully operational again. Even with the help...
all of those the damages, but like all of those damages I just listed for the Iroquois that occurred. I think in this video I said with little to no damages. I did not do my research correctly.
But it is the best example of why the Halberd-Class's superior maneuverability and heavy armament made it a force of nature it was on the battlefield.
The force of nature, the force of nature. I mean, it's more like it's less of a buster sword, more of a scalpel, if anything. You know, I don't know.
The Halberd-Class. It is my absolute favorite ship class in the entire Halo universe. I have individual ships that I prefer, but when it comes to an entire class, it's...
So yeah, that was my Halberd-Class breakdown. There's a point in here where I think I show
only ever on the back foot, but not a single class of destroyer was included in the post-war...
Oh, this is cringe. Okay, hang on.
Or Fleet Line Initiative, which I think is a huge mistake.
Post-war Fleet Line Initiative. Not canon. That is a fanon thing. And I thought it was canon because at the time I didn't know the difference between the fanon wiki and Halopedia/Halo Alpha, which is the outdated one. I thought I was on Halo Alpha because it looks somewhat similar to the fanon wiki. Little did I know, this is not canon. This is not a real thing. Total bullshit, this. You know, is what it is. But I
now that human technology,
to my credit, I made a corrections video not too long after.
With Covenant remnants and better in some areas, they should definitely have been using that to create a more wide-ranging fleet. The UNSC Infinity, may she rest in peace, had a unique and intuitive...
Halo Infinite wasn't even out yet. And I think I was just like, may she rest in peace. Was it out? January 9th, 2020? Oh, it was out. Never mind.
A feature that was that she could carry 10 underslung heavy frigates. This provided her 10 extra mobile MAC cannons and a lot of versatility and range, as well as the Archer missiles and who knows whatever weapons were on those ships. I haven't done a breakdown for those yet, I don't know. Now, as cool as this is, imagine if instead of 10 heavy frigates, she carried maybe 5 heavy frigates and 6 or 7 upgraded versions of the Halberd-Class light destroyer.
I still agree with
One
this.
with shields, better engines, better Macs. You'd have the Infinity with all her firepower, her flanks covered by the frigates, with fast and powerful destroyers zipping around the battlefield like it's nobody's business.
Yeah, I still
I'll end
agree
this
with
video
that.
with a request to 343 Industries. If you ever want to appease the Halo Wars crowd again, as you did with Halo Wars 2, please, space battles, and a new destroyer design inspired by the Halberd. That would be very cool.
That would be cool.
But that's all for this video. I hope you liked it.
That's all.
And for the next one, I'll probably be doing another Halo ship, or maybe a Star Wars ship for the next breakdown. And if you haven't, please subscribe. I also have a main channel.
He's
other
right
than
about
this
that.
one. It's
You
a
should
hair's
subscribe.
breadth away from 100 subscribers as
Isn't
writing this.
the Strident like a frigate-destroyer hybrid? I did come to that conclusion later on. Once I did the frigates video, but you know, I didn't know shit about Stridents at that point, because like I learned the most about each individual ship when I'm doing the breakdown for it. Now I have a lot of context because I've done a bunch of these by now. You know, at that time I didn't know that much about Halo lore, to be honest. I've read a bunch of the books, but nowhere near my encyclopedic knowledge I have nowadays. The Mark lore was not there yet. Yeah. I didn't know. I didn't know what I was talking about. I was a damn fool. Did I make a... I did. There's a Punic video. But yeah, that was the Halberd-Class breakdown. very not great. It was no, it was good. It was good. It has issues. I've ironed out a lot of those issues in newer breakdowns. I think the other battleship class is too